All right, we're going live today to talk about this whole idea of participation trophies. It's a huge topic right now. Over the last several years, we've heard tons of controversy about participation trophies and are they good? Are they bad? Are they the cause of the entitlement generation and a group of athletes that are so soft? James Harrison took it viral when he stated this on his Instagram. He said, "I come home to find out that my boys received 2 trophies for nothing, participation trophies. While I'm very proud of my boys for everything they do and will encourage them till the day that I die," kudos to James Harrison, "these trophies will be given back." They're going to give these trophies back until they earn a real trophy. I'm sorry. Here's what Harrison says. He says, "I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for believing that everything in life should be earned, and I'm not about to raise 2 boys to be men by making them believe that they're entitled to something just because they tried their best. Sometimes your best isn't enough, and that should drive you to want to do better, not cry and whine until somebody gives you something to shut you up and keep you happy." I agree. We don't need to be celebrating necessarily participation trophies at that age. But listen, my kids have gotten participation trophies. You know what we do? We pat them on the back and we never talk about them again. We don't make a bigger deal out of it by handing them back and all these things. My question to James Harrison would be, I wonder when you miss a tackle on a Sunday and the Steelers lose, do you give your money back to the Steelers organization or to Coach Tomlin? I doubt it. You're not going to give your money back. That would be absurd because you're going to make mistakes in life and you're not always going to finish first. So I do believe we need to be giving kids things for effort because effort's the thing that's lacking when they get to a certain point. This past week, Coach Jeff Walz of Louisville women's basketball, after a frustrating loss, Coach, I've been there. Let me tell you this. I've done my research on Coach Walz. This guy's a rock star. I have daughters. They're all playing basketball. I don't know where basketball will take them, but I'll tell you, I would be totally confident in sending my daughter to play for a guy like Coach Walz. Family guy, believes in the right things. I think in the heat of the moment, was ticked. I mean, that's what you do. You get ticked. But this past week's Coach Walz, after a frustrating loss, goes immediately to a participation awards and the friendship bracket. I didn't even know the friendship bracket existed, being the root cause of his team's and this generation's inability to get tough. Now, let's take a time out. We always talk about this generation. Here's what this generation is. It's anyone who's living and breathing presently on this day in December of 2016. I know people that are old that are lazy. I know people that are young that are lazy. I know people that are old that are entitled. I know kids that are young. And I also know great people that are older and great people that are younger. So oftentimes we point to this certain little group of people. Listen, we are all part of the problem and we need to all be a part of the solution. He kind of alludes to his girls being losers, and I don't think Coach Walz really believes that. I don't, because I watched his team 2 years ago, I think it was, in the national championship game. But, when you look at this whole participation award and, hey, you don't deserve a trophy if you don't get first place, listen, I know this. If they win the ACC, they're going to get a bonus. And if another school wins the Big Ten, they're going to get a bonus. We're not going to give our bonuses back just because we win our conference title and not the national championship. It doesn't make you a loser. It gives you something to work for. This idea of just participation trophies being our problem is nuts. There's certain things that are big accomplishments even when we don't finish at the very top. This morning I read a blog talking about college diplomas. Well, if you're not valedictorian or you're not first in your class, you shouldn't get a diploma. Crazy. That's absurd. But in the sports world, we're beginning to blame all of our issues on certain things when the problem is so much deeper. We're looking at the headache, and the sports world actually has cancer, and we need to figure out how to fix it. The other thing is this. Most of the people that are playing Division I sports weren't playing upward. Shout out to my man, Matt Hamilton. Most people that played upward sports, my secretary, my administrative assistants watching, but most people that played upward sports aren't playing Division I athletics. The girls on Coach Walz's team, James Harrison, weren't playing upward sports. They were playing on elite level teams. So I agree, we have some cultural issues on our hand, but our softness isn't due to participation trophies. You know why I think we're soft? Because how many elite athletes work today? Listen, nobody works. Kids at the high school level, they don't work. You know why? Because they're playing summer ball. They're all playing travel ball. They're all on select teams. They're going to clubs. We pay for everything. We provide everything. We uproot our families. We travel around the region at 10 years old, and then we wonder why they're entitled? Because what we're saying as adults is that our lives revolve around you. Listen, I'm a parent. Unfortunately, my life doesn't revolve around my kid. Their life revolves around mine, and one day we'll switch roles, and they'll have the opportunity. All right? I know people every weekend. Here's what they do. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Shout out to one of the best outdoor cities in America. I have friends who drive to Nashville, Birmingham, Atlanta every weekend to play. On their way, there are teams from Nashville, Birmingham, and Atlanta that are driving to Chattanooga to play. What are we doing? Listen, if there isn't enough competition or in a 60-mile radius from where you live to compete, then you're probably playing too many freaking games. The issue today is not that kids haven't played enough games. They don't know how to prepare. We play more games than we actually even practice. And when the going gets tough, you know where you have to go to get better? You got to practice. You just can't go play another game. So kids are more skilled today. They're stronger. They're faster. They have more competitive experience. Yet here's what we say. Over and over at my level, at the higher levels, here's what they say. Well, kids don't know how to compete. You know why? Here's why. Because kids today, adults today, have gifts that get them to a room that their character won't allow them to stay. And you know who's at fault? I am. I am at fault because we don't have strategies to teach kids character, resilience, discipline, and all these things. We just give them the best opportunities, and then we hope that that will last long enough to get them to whatever the level they can be at. Listen, your job as a coach and a parent is not to provide the best opportunities. It's to provide opportunities. And when you provide opportunities, the kid or the young person can decide what they're going to do with that opportunity. So here's what I want to do this morning, real brief. I want to address what I think are the two biggest problems in sport. Okay? Two biggest problems in sport. What are they? Here's the first one. The first one is this. It's called self. I'm looking at them right now as I do a Facebook Live video. I'm looking at the biggest problem. Ask my wife. She'll probably say amen. Self is not just a sport problem. It's a mankind problem. Go back to the beginning of time, whatever you believe. It was self that put the human race on this downward spiral. As parents, coaches, educators, we need to be doing everything we can to create strategies that point against self. In sport, we need to be not agreeing that it's all about them. It's why this whole idea of individuality scares me to death. Here's why. Because there are times I don't need to be me because that version of me is not very good. All right? And if it's all about just me being myself, listen, sometimes myself is not very good. I need to stop myself, evaluate, and choose to be better than I presently am. Sport, this great thing we call sport that supposedly teaches all these things. Sport is teaching kids to be selfish. All right? We say there's no I in team, but we've taken the M in team, and here's what we've done. We've let it stand for me, myself, and mine. Because kids now believe the reason they play sport is all about them. I had a middle schooler tell me, I am not going to play for my school because I'm going to play on a select team. When asked why, here's how they responded. Because that's where you get seen. Middle school, this person is saying, I'm going to forsake the opportunity to represent my community and my friends and my team because I'm going to go play select because I want to be seen. Good luck with that mentality because at some point you're going to have to be about someone other than yourself. And sport is teaching those things. So what's the first problem? The first problem is self. It's my problem as well. Here's the second thing, and there's a lot of them, but we're going to address two today. The second biggest issue in sport is sport itself. It's sport itself. The systems we encourage and utilize foster the characteristics we despise. Listen to me again. The systems we encourage and utilize foster the characteristics we despise. Unfortunately, just like in Coach Walz's instance the other night, we never bash the systems until they hurt. We never bash this entitled, it's all about me mentality in the sports world until it hurts us as a coach, and then it's too late. Coach Walz blames participation trophies. You know what I blame? I blame AAU. I blame AAU. I blame all these travel leagues. Okay, because when we lose sight of what sport is really all about, okay, sport teaches character. No, it doesn't. If sport taught character, then the guys in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, all these different organizations, they would have the highest character of anyone in the world, and they don't. You know why? Because a basketball doesn't teach character. A coach, a human being, using a basketball can teach character. They can teach character. So it's not about participation trophies. Listen, these guys don't even remember participation trophies. Okay, you know what it's about? It's about that we've created a team so that everyone can be the starter. Because they say this, my good buddies over at 3 Dimensional Coaching, go to fcacoachesacademy.com and look into their stuff. It's unbelievable. Kids are motivated by 3 things nowadays: playing time, position, potential scholarship. All of those things can fail them. We need to be giving more, and kids deserve that when they sign up for a sport and they're under a coach's leadership, that they're going to get more than that. All these select and elite competitions, here's what we do as college coaches. We use those to find our athletes, and then we bring them in and we say, hey, look at this brand new locker room and all this. And coaches say all the time, and listen, I am not bashing Coach Walz. I'm using this as a platform to help us rethink and stir the pot. A good buddy of mine from Cleveland, Tennessee said, hey, if you don't stir the pot, things get sticky at the bottom. So listen, I am Coach Walz, and I struggle and I get ticked and all of these things, but we got to find out what the root of the problem is. And the root of the problem is not participation trophies. The root of the problem is we're taking young people, and I call it sport prostitution, and we're pimping them out and we're making them feel like they're the greatest thing ever. And then when the going gets really tough, they don't know how to respond because we haven't given them the opportunity to actually do that. Coach Walz also said, he said, and again, I'm not picking on him. He said, I'm trying to prepare these girls for life. Well, the question is how? How are we really trying to prepare these athletes for life? What's his strategy? I would love some ideas here on my own team. I feel like I'm failing most of the time to actually prepare these guys for life. If he does have those strategies, are we sharing those things? You know what we share in the sports world? We share X's and O's. And at some point, at 24 years of age, X's and O's don't do anything for a kid. They don't help you in your marriage. They don't help you in your finances. They don't help you in any of those areas. It's the intrinsic things that will actually help them. Why aren't we sharing those ideas? You know why? Because we don't care. The adults don't care. We just want little Johnny to be the starter. Or we want little Susie to be the star. We have got to take a step back. Take a step back and say, hey, where do we want these people to be when they're done with this activity, whether it be sport, band, education, or whatever? Here's what I know. These elite athletes, they've been stroked their whole life. Then they come to college and we show them our nice locker room and we tell them we're going to fly to Hawaii. Now they get unlimited snacks. They get unlimited meals. Listen, in the real world, you don't get unlimited snacks. You know what you have to do? You have to pay for the food that you get. These kids nowadays have locker rooms that are nicer than my home. I'm talking my living room where I raise my children. The locker room. When you think locker room, you know what you think? Stinks, dirty, coach always yelling to pick it up. You don't think Taj Mahal. Listen, they got the Taj Mahal locker room. You know why? Because that's what we've gotten them used to. And if you don't have that, Taj Mahal locker room, guess what? That kid ain't going to sign. So again, the things that we promote become the things that we despise. At some point, we have to say enough's enough, and we're going to get back to actually what matters most in a kid's lives. Why can they not cope? I hear it all the time. Coaches say kids can't cope. They can't solve problems. It's not because we've given them a participation trophy. They don't even remember the trophy. They don't care. They don't know where it's at. It got thrown away when you cleaned the car out 2 weeks after the stupid little event. You know why they can't cope? Here's why. Because adults, you and I, those of us listening, we have micromanaged them since the time they were 5 years old. We tell them where to play. We tell them what to play. We tell them when to practice, and we never let them solve any problems. It's why the backyard is the greatest training ground for life. It's a great training ground. Here's why. Because in the backyard, here's what the kids do. The kids organize the games. That teaches responsibility. That's a strategy. In the backyards, the kids pick the teams. That's leadership. That's a trait that we want them to have. That's a strategy. In backyard, everyone plays every position. Listen, I've never heard in backyard football someone volunteering to be the right guard. Everyone wants to be the quarterback, and in backyard football, after you argue long enough, they're going to let you be the quarterback if for nothing else to shut you up. You throw one interception, you're back at right guard. But everyone plays every position. Here's what the backyard also teaches. It allows us to solve problems. Listen, when they're under our leadership so much and we're making all the decisions, there's an argument. The adult, hey, they'll come out of the stands. I've seen moms and dads come out of the stands to try to solve the problem. Listen, they're 7 years old. 7. Let them work it out. The consequence at 7 years old is not that significant. But the consequence at 20 can be pretty significant. So let's let them work on these things when the consequence is low versus when the consequence is really big. We want them to be responsible, but we never allow them to be responsible. Let's start making them clean their rooms. Let's start micromanaging that. Hey, clean your room. Be nice to your mother. Be nice to other adults versus just micromanaging their skill level. Everyone at some point is going to have a room they need to clean. All right, the rest of their life. Most people won't play a sport past middle school. So if we're going to solve this problem, if we want 18 to 22-year-olds to actually get tougher, if we want them to be problem solvers, if we want them to be able to cope, if we want them to know how to work hard, then here's what we have to do. We have to provide an infrastructure that allows those things to happen. Our culture has become so involved that we've lost that infrastructure that actually allows a kid to grow and develop and work through things. So again, I am not calling out James Harrison because I think he's a stud. I'm not calling out Coach Walz. Coach, I promise you, I'll bring my daughters to camp one time. But what I am saying is all of you guys who jump on Facebook and go, oh, this guy really gets it, all this, time out. Time out. Is the problem really participation trophies? Or is the problem so much deeper? And most of us could help solve that problem as moms and dads, as coaches, as leaders in our communities as well. So as we kind of wrap this thing up, man, listen, it's broken. We have to think through the sports world what we're doing. What we're doing. Do we really have strategies to teach these things? And to parents with young kids and people in the sports world, man, listen, set some boundaries. Set some boundaries. You know why everyone is doing it a certain way? Because that's what the adult model's doing. Because in the sports world, here's what we've done. We've taken an adult model sport and we've dumped it on the backs of kids. And as my good friend Mark Cole said, listen, if you take your kid to the doctor and the doctor gives them an adult dosage of medicine, we're going to call it malpractice. But in the sports world, we clap our hands for it. Listen, most kids can't carry that load. You know why you want your kid involved in sports when they're young? So they can learn how to persevere a little. That means you don't remove them from the bad team and put them on the best team. That means you don't complain that your coach isn't, Rick Pitino or Coach K at Duke or whoever. No, that means you let them walk through you allow them to walk through some of these difficult things and you teach them through it as they move along in life. And here's what you'll do. You'll give your child a chance to play at the highest level possible. Because a lot of that's going to have to do with the genetics, and a lot of it's going to have to do with character. There's plenty of kids who have the skill now to get to that room, but they just don't have the character to stay. So I just challenge coaches, man. Don't throw your players under the bus after a loss. Listen, throw them under the bus at practice the next day. Heck, put the bus in reverse and back over them. But let's not say that the root cause is something it's really not. Listen, the root cause is self. We're all selfish. Okay? Each and every one of us. I wake up every day and I have to try to run from my selfish self. We got to teach our children that too. And then here's the other thing. For those of us in a leadership role in sport, man, listen, sport itself is his biggest problem. listen, if we want things to change, then the systems we have in place need to change. And then I think we'll begin to see kids enjoy what's going on more. And I think we'll see kids at the right time, high school, collegiate level, when it really matters. We'll see kids actually working harder at those times because our methods have actually changed. So, hey, if you want to know more about this, I have a great blog called The Trophy Dilemma. I'm not a fan of either trophy. I think every kid should get a trophy, and it's an intrinsic trophy that doesn't sit on a shelf. It lives forever in a kid's life. So like resilience and grit and all those things. So, hey, if you want to go check out, you can go to heathesslinger.com and go to blog, and I have several blogs on there about these issues. But thanks for tuning in today. My first Facebook Live. Thanks to all you guys for tuning in. Listen, don't get so caught up in the now. Zoom out. Have a bigger perspective. No one remembers sixth grade basketball. No one. No one remembers sixth grade sports. Thank God, because I wasn't very good. They remember long term what those things are, what we learned through the tough times, the good times, the easy times, and let all of those things, the good and the bad, develop your son or daughter, your athlete, whatever, into the best versions of themselves they can be. Thanks so much.